So welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And welcome to this year, 2022's Christmas Gift Wargame Ideas video.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yes, with that jolly. So spend your spouses and families and significant others over here, and we're going to tell them all the games to buy you for Christmas.
If you got every one of these, it would be an amazing Christmas.
Yes, you might be bankrupt, but
yeah,
it would be an amazing Christmas nonetheless.
You might get Christmas for the next 5 years in 1 year.
So we just wanted to put another one of these together with some really good games that came out this year, and then some classics, and then there'll be some solitaire suggestions towards the end.
Some
as
little
well.
games.
A little bit of everything,
Yeah.
Of things that were like really good and very much worth looking into, and we've got a lot of different topics covered, so, you know, if you're buying war games for someone, hopefully we have some interest sparked, point you in the right direction.
And where should they check to see if these are available for purchase?
They should check at Noble Knight Games, who are one of our sponsors here at the Players Aid.
Good folks over there.
Yes, they have all sorts of out-of-production games. They have all sorts of new and in-production games. It's a really good place to look for a lot of these in one area as well. So let's just kind of dive on in. Let's start with a couple of new ones from this year.
Okay.
And then we can go into some kind of classics as well later.
All right. So new ones from this year. Let's start with a real war game.
This is a big Hex Encounter hardcore war game.
But it's playable, though.
Very playable. Very interesting system. This was new to us this year, and this was the new title. This is a one-mapper, couple of sheets of counters, in the BCS system from Multiman Publishing.
Battalion combat system, right?
Yeah, lots of unique things in this one.
Well, I really enjoyed this because there was opportunity for maneuver. There was opportunity. Supply was a big part of it. You had your little, did they call it baggage train? Or?
You had like a baggage train, and then you're like a supply source. And
lots of really cool elements. I think it's a great looking game. I think they really stepped their game up in this, the production of this one. I think the box is freaking fantastic. And this deals with Patton's Aircourt campaign along southern France, kind of the couple of months after D-Day during World War II.
Some small scenarios. You could play the whole big thing in one day, though.
My favorite part about this game, the blobs.
The blobs, yes.
The blobs. I remember when you read that rule, I'm like,
that is a rule, and it is called blobs.
It's pretty cool, though.
Yeah. Really good, meaty Hex Encounter.
You kind of have to be in an unobstructed area to operate, and your units and your headquarters.
This is your area of operations, and you want to keep them separate from your other battalions and things. It's really neat that way.
I love this game. This will definitely be on my top 10 for 2022. I wrote a first impressions post about this, so you can read that to get a feel for it. But this would be a fantastic addition to any Wargamers collection.
Yes.
BCS Aircourt. Really enjoyed it.
So we're starting with the hardcore stuff. Let's jump to something slightly less hardcore.
I was saying, that's not hardcore.
This is a little stocking stuffer. Look, it's so small. This is 300 Earth and Water from a company called Nuts Publishing. They're based out of France, but you can get this on import. This is a really small, very quick play, like 20-minute game.
Card-driven game.
Little cards, little cubes, little point-to-points, little small map. This is the kind of thing that even your non-wargaming family and friends will play with you.
So you could play this with your kids, your spouse, your significant other, your friend.
Take it to work, play it with your colleagues. Like this is a really good kind of gift to give someone, and something that, it's not one of those gifts where you give it, and then you're like, ugh, I hate that I'm giving this to you because I'm going to get roped into it.
You're going to give it, and you'll be like, hey.
This is a gift that will be given back to you as you get to play it, and this is really enjoyable and light, but also very interesting and very tight, very tense game as well.
Well, and it's in the Combat Rations, I think they call it, series.
Yes.
It's number 1. They've got, I think you saw number 2, right?
So they have, because there's a bunch. So it is Port Arthur, is that what it is?
Port Arthur, I think, was the next
Arthur,
one that I was thinking of.
But then they also have like a bunch of these in the pipeline as well in this series. Nice. It's a really nice little small format wargame. Going to be a great gift.
Yeah, you play it in 20 minutes, so not going to take up your whole evening or afternoon. Another one on the lighter side. Really enjoyed this one. We bought this one at Gen Con this year. This came off a successful Kickstarter. It's called The Red Burnous, Algeria, 1857. This is a cooperative deck building game.
So yeah, if you play board games and you like deck builders, the core of this is deck building.
And it plays a very important part
Yes.
in the game. It's really the mechanic that you're going to do over and over every turn.
And it's great flavor from the deck building, which is extremely rare in gaming. And also extremely rare, this is a pure co-op. You don't get a lot of that in wargaming, at least.
Yeah.
But you're all working together to fight against the invading French.
Yeah, I think I think it plays 1 to 4. You can do it solo. It has solo mode. 1 to 4, I think you just control 1 or 2 or 3 villages. The more players you get.
Yes.
So if you have 4 players, you're only going to have 2 or 3 villages. If you do 2 players, like I think we had 5 or 6 apiece.
Yeah.
But very cool. The mechanics for the deck building are so unique, so interesting. Plays very fast as well.
Yeah, the pace of play is good, and a game takes less than an hour.
And it's, frankly, it's really fun and interesting.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this. We played this 2 or 3 times in a row and really enjoyed it. So, Hit 'em with a Shoe
Yes.
is the publisher. So, the Red Burnous, Algeria, 1857. I would definitely recommend this one.
World War One in a box.
It's so good.
Imperial Tide from Compass Games. This was a smash hit of the year with us, frankly.
Well, and I was really surprised, frankly, because we had played Pacific Tide.
Yes.
And while it was interesting and unique, this really just blew me out of the water. The way it was integrated and the way it really showed World War I.
It was just really
awesome,
good, and you play the whole of World War One in a single session.
It's like a 3-hour game, 3.5-hour game.
Yeah, many of the games at this scale that deal with like the whole of World War One, at least in Europe, you're talking like at least a whole day, sometimes multiple days to play those.
Like Paths of Glory.
Right. This one, much shorter on it, but it's still, you get the feeling of those different fronts, both the West Front and the East Front that you're getting going on, and then down in the Balkans. Really tight game. Lots to think about with the way that the card play is in this, with your 2 kind of sets of cards in the same year that you're doing. I really was surprised by how much I loved this game.
Oh, yeah.
They've got the nice box for this one that's linen finished, and it's a big box.
The production is really good, too. The map is literally covered with World War I era recruiting posters, war bond posters. It's just utterly fantastic and very thematic. I enjoyed the heck out of this game.
Really,
and
really
I even
good
think
game.
non-war gamers will enjoy this one.
Yeah, so, and if all you've got at home is Axis and Allies, you can play this.
Oh, yeah.
It's very different from that, but it requires the same. It's not so strenuous as some of the other games out there that you could buy. Really, really, really enjoyable game.
And Greg Smith is the designer, and he normally does solo games, but he really knocked it out of the park.
Not absolutely smashed it with that one.
Was a fantastic game. Let's go to Zermatt. This is actually brand new. This just came off Kickstarter like a month ago. Catastrophe Games.
Yes.
This is Afghanistan.
Yes.
And you have a very interesting activation system. One side plays the insurgents, the other plays the United States and their allies. And it's a combination of, there's some programmed choices of movement, and then there's some area control, having the most influence in an area, gaining victory points. You have like some hidden objectives. Very quick playing. Very unique. It has tiles
and the tiles, you make the map out of them.
So it's going to be different every game. I really felt like the designer of this one, Tim Densham, who is a Afghanistan veteran, really knocked it out of the park with this one. This is a 2-player game, so I just loved it. I love how you choose an action, and that kind of pushes that action back in the order, and you can use it again, but you got to pay like more of your scarce resources, and it's really hard.
Game.
Yeah.
And there's lots of layers to the things that we're doing. This was an incredible game. We played a prototype of this last year, I think, and it was just like a revelation.
Yeah, custom dice.
And do you remember the dice that we played
They had
with?
stickers, but these custom dice are just I mean, they have little explosions on them, little helmets.
And they're like embossed.
It's just phenomenal.
Really,
Look at those
really good.
tiles. I really enjoyed this game, and I think they really did a great job in the production. We have not played it since, but I would recommend this game.
This just arrived. We got to get this back onto the table.
So I really enjoyed it. So anyway, Zermatt from Catastrophe Games. You can get this on their website. Plays in about an hour and a half, and is really interesting enough that I think it's going to appeal to a lot of different folks. Hardcore wargamers, new wargamers, people that maybe even aren't even interested, because it has some unique elements. So it's very interesting. Yes. I love this one a lot.
Another game that was released this year, that's a new one from GMT Games, is Plains Indian Wars. So this can play up to 4 people, I believe?
Yeah.
Yes. You can play it solitaire, the whole solo mode. You can play it 2 or 3 players, play 4 players, so you can get your whole family involved in this one if you wanted to. Kind of like a mini card-driven game, but it's a dudes on a map game, which is putting cubes out, controlling areas, and moving them around.
And that is literally what is the most important thing in the game.
Yes.
You can't lose sight of that, because there's a lot of bells and whistles. You know, the settlers have to move to the west, and then you got to build the railroad, and you know, if you lose sight of what you're supposed to be doing, you're going to lose the game.
You have to do all of that, but you also have to control regions.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting game.
Based on the Birth of America series.
Yes.
This is designed by John Paniski. It's not the Birth of America series, but he uses some of those concepts, and it very playable. I enjoyed it. But it's important to remember the Native Americans, the Southern Plains Indians, and the North. You're not going to run around and destroy the cavalry.
Yes.
You got to understand
things have gone
that.
very poorly if you're doing that.
Do what you should be doing and how you should be doing it to try to survive and win. And I really enjoyed it. The card play's unique. It's beautiful. The custom dice are very cool. Although I don't like that the NPT and the SPT, they only have like 2 hits on their whole dice.
Yeah, the production value of this one ended up being extremely good as well.
Yep.
So, and it's one of the few games out there, especially the ones we got here, that can play lots of people, play up to 4 players with it as well.
And it's just interesting and unique.
Yes.
Basically the westward expansion of the United States in the late 1800s. So, another one from GMT Games. This is a big war game, very similar to Aracourt. This is Salerno 43, designed by Mark Simonich, published by GMT Games. This deals with the Salerno landings in early 43, as the Allies were trying to establish a beachhead after they had taken Sicily and were trying to move up the Italian continent. This uses the Zachbahn system. Very interesting, because the terrain situation in this one really almost, not predetermines, but it really determines the routes and the axis of invasion the Allies
there's only
have to
so
do.
many ways and paths that you can take in this.
You can't go over the mountains.
No.
I mean, you got to go around them, and there's only a few paths. So it creates a lot of very interesting decisions for the German player and the Allies to try to put together a coherent strategy to figure out how to get to the north and move towards Monte Cassino and, you know, the next part. The next map, I think, is, I want to say it's, I can't remember what it's called.
I don't know.
But he's got 3 of these planned. Basically,
so
we'll end in Rome.
That's the other nice part about this. You're going to buy this. This is a great standalone game.
Yep.
It's basically, you only have a half a map of actual play stuff. A beginner could play this. An experienced player is going to get a lot of enjoyment out of this.
Yep.
And then it will be expanded upon, so you'll get more out of this as time goes on as well.
And we played, I think, the 10-turn scenario, and I thought it went really quick. It took 4 hours, but it was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable
really
4
good.
hours.
Very tense game.
Yeah. So, and it's in a small, itty-bitty box.
Just a little one.
So, really like Salerno 43.
A 2021 game, technically. That's what it says in the box.
I think it. Yeah, I think we played it late
It probably hit
2021.
But Conquest and Consequence. So this is a 3-player game, and you want to get 3 players for this.
That's the best way to play it.
Big block war games. This is the first one of these today. It plays with wooden blocks with stickers on them, and they face towards you, so it's hidden from other people.
It is so
Really
unique
fun.
to see the map, because the blocks are just angled a couple of degrees one way or the other. You can't see it. that guy can't see it, but I can see mine, and
Yeah.
I can't see yours. It's just really cool.
So this is
Works
a big,
really well.
massive block area move game on the Pacific in World War II. It's got a huge focus on the Chinese Civil War that's going on, as well as all the kind of air naval stuff that you would expect between the US and the Japanese. It's a fascinating game. We played this, had a friend come down, and it was just a great day's play.
And I think strategically we made a ton of mistakes.
Horrendous.
I was the U.S., or no, I was the Japanese, and just didn't get very far. But I'm telling you, that Chinese Civil War was very unique, very interesting, and really gave the Soviet player, because really the Soviets in this
I was the
theater,
commentator, and the Russians don't do anything.
right, or very little.
Yeah. But I'm mostly just fueling the Chinese communists and using the Chinese communists
Against the
and
nationalists.
ensuring that neither other side runs away with
Yeah.
things. But it was a really, really just fun game, and I just loved the thesis and the focus on the Chinese Civil War because it's usually like an afterthought in other Pacific games,
Right.
or it's like this other sub-mini game that's like kind of gross because you have to learn an extra game on top of the rules that you already learned. But this was like fully integrated into it, and it all felt really, really good.
The other thing I love about this one is the multi-use cards. You've got cards that either give commands or they do politicking to make allies, or you can do some technology, develop long-range bombers, or better amphibious landing. It's just very unique. It's based on the Triumph and Tragedy system that covers the European theater. We've played both. I really enjoyed this one. I had a great time with it.
Very good.
And it's just a solid game. Now, that one's going to be a little more expensive because it's got a lot of wood in it, but it is definitely worth it.
Yeah, that's the kind of game that like you buy and then your husband and your father-in-law and they'll go away and they play for the whole day and you get to relax.
Yeah. So the next game we have on the list, we played this year. Just a fantastic game. This is Barbarians at the Gates, and it deals with the fall of the Western Roman Empire in like the 300s AD, right? All the barbarians are coming down from the north, from Britannia, Germania Magna, even the south, the Berbers, and some others. And the beginning of the game, the map's all red. It's all Roman.
Yep.
By the end of the game, there's not much red left.
No.
The barbarians kind of come in at all places, but it's really unique. There's some cards that can be on both sides that can create, for the barbarians, they can create pretenders that kind of wreak havoc behind the lines for the Romans. And then the Romans have some cards where they can pacify, like a big old barbarian stack. Oh, I'm going to give you money and land. You just settle right here. Just really unique back and forth. The combat system is very cool. I just love the cards. This game I thought was way better than I thought it would be. Meaning, I was interested in it. I thought it would be unique. But man, when we played it, I was like, damn, that's really good.
It was a very, very, very enjoyable game to play.
It felt like a war game, too.
Lots of stuff going on in this, too.
Great art. You can see the cover's great. Some people have said, oh, that's not a Centurion from that time period.
He's wearing the wrong helmet.
It looks great to me. The art on the cards is great. The map is beautiful. I really like this one. Chris Van Burden really knocked it out of the park. And this one's going to be on my top 10 list, I think, unless something knocks it off.
So I think the last of the new kind of two-player-ish games we've got going on is Fire and Stone Siege of Vienna 1683. And this just came out.
Yeah.
It was on a Kickstarter or a game.
I think they just did a pre-order.
Oh, just a pre-order.
Yeah, they didn't do a crowdfunding.
So this is from Capstone Games. This is another kind of short format, hour, 90 minutes type game. And it's 2 players, and it is the Ottomans laying siege to Vienna, as you may have guessed from the name.
Right.
Beautiful components.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wooden barricades and wooden cannons and all these
card
other
art
little
is
sticks.
fantastic.
And there's like all sorts of different things that you're doing because you're trying to shoot each other off the board, right? But then there's also the engineering, like the digging and the tunneling and the sappers trying to like lay explosives to like destroy the barricades.
Yep.
It just is this really neat game, completely unique little situation and setting. And people are like, oh, what about the Polish relief forces?
It
The game
doesn't go that
the game
deep.
doesn't go that far. The game is over before that happens.
Yeah.
So
But this is designed by Robert Dulesky. Robert has done, I think this is his third game. He did Wars of Marcus Aurelius. He did Stilicho, both from Hollandspiel. And then this is his first game with Capstone. I'm going to be honest. Robert's I think a very good designer who takes a part of history, does his research, and then creates a very interesting experience. I played Stilicho earlier today, and because I shot a video for it, and this is just another great little game. Card driven,
so
very
playable.
interesting. Yeah.
Beautiful game.
It's hard as hell to win as the Ottomans, though. I struggled with it, but you know what? We play that game 3 or 4 times. I think we're going to learn some more strategy, and it's definitely unique, for sure.
yes.
Really like that one.
So that was kind of like some of the newer games. Let's talk about some classics.
Classics.
So some classic games, if they don't have these on the shelves, you should buy them.
Yeah.
So, big number one, not a war game, Twilight Struggle. If you don't see Twilight Struggle on the shelves of your war gamers, you should buy the Twilight Struggle. Big 2-player game that covers like the entirety of the Cold War. It's like one of the quintessential card-driven games. You have a little hand of cards, and some of the events are really good, and some of the events are really gross, and you have to manage those, and when you play those. And it's about influencing all, well, not all, but like a huge number of nations of the world, and getting them aligned to your side and your ideologies, and then, you know, fomenting rebellions, and all these different things. Just an incredible game that's on its like millionth printing.
Yeah.
And it has very much stood the test of time. You can't really go wrong with this.
I had to buy myself a copy of this because we've played it so many times and love it. The thing I love about this is it covers nearly 50 years. I think it's the end of World War II, right? So 1945.
Yeah, like it's
To the fall of the Berlin Wall, basically 1989.
Yeah.
That's just shy of 50 years. But it is so amazing to me that Jason and Ananda crammed all of those events into playable, unique cards that are given to both sides, and it's
sense.
Yeah, and they make sense, and it makes it very tense. I'm always worried about this. I'm worried about that. It's just a unique game. It's fun. I plays in 3 hours, you know, so you're not going to sit down and play it in 35 minutes. But the more you play it, the better you get. The more you like it, and we've probably played it 15 times, maybe 20.
Yeah, we played that a lot.
So really like it.
So next up, I got a coin game.
Coin.
The reality is I could recommend a lot of different coin games.
Well, 1 through 10, they're all great. Or 11.
Cuba Libre. I just picked Cuba Libre for this video because
It's a classic.
It's a classic, but it's just a little smaller and a little shorter. So
Yeah.
it's probably something that you're going to get. It's going to appeal to maybe more people than some of the more intense ones.
Well,
And it just came off of P500.
I did.
It's in stock.
Yeah. I also know that it is a smaller map than a majority of the other coin games, so there's less spaces. There's still 4 factions, but it's a little more manageable. You kind of see where you should be going and what you should be doing. I always feel like, and I think you do as well, this is like the perfect introductory coin series game. Fire in the Lake is the deep end of the pool. This is a deep, good game, but it's more on the playable and understandable for those that haven't played it before.
Yeah, I just think the theme's fascinating. The game itself is excellent.
Yep.
And it's finally available again. It was out of stock for a very long time.
Jeff Grossman and Volko Runke, that was coin volume number 2.
Yes.
Right? So really like it.
Let us talk about this bad boy.
Another block war game.
Yes, although a different style of blocks.
Yeah.
So, Commands and Colors. Commands and Colors is a system, and we will talk more about that in a little bit.
We have a whole ranking video.
From Richard Borg. This is a light war game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a hex grid. You have like terrain, and you have all your pieces lined up. You have a little hand of cards, and that's you're gonna activate your units, and it's moving and attacking each other in different settings, basically. Napoleonics is great.
It's my favorite, I think, of all the games we've played.
Very, very good. There's a ton of expansions for it. But if your wargamer is into anything Napoleonics, you could do a lot worse than buying them this.
Well, and once again, I know you've played another game on the list, Memoir 44, with your wife. This game is very understandable.
Very.
Right? You've got a hand of cards. The board is divided up into 3 zones, left, right, and center. And your cards say, move 3 units in the center, move 2 units on the left. And so it's pretty easy to understand.
Yep.
And the card draw makes it really tense. You just never know, am I ever going to get a card that activates the right?
And it's a little bit of poker where you're like trying to bluff, like, oh, I've definitely got all the cards that I need to be able to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Fun game.
You get 15 battles, you get 3 factions in the core box. I think it's the French, English, and the Portuguese. Like, it's a really good value. Plus, it's like infinitely expandable. There's Russians, Prussians,
I think we played.
Austrians,
Haven't we played
Spanish.
the Russian? I thought we played the Spanish.
I think we played Spanish too, yeah.
And they're just all so unique.
You can
They
do
all
a
feel
lot
different.
with this game, but there's a lot
great
in the
game.
box as well.
And it's available. I know it's very highly sought after, so definitely a good addition to anyone's Wargame collection.
Whilst we're talking about Commands and Colors, let's talk about
Same system.
Memoir 44. So Memoir 44 is the Commands and Color system, although it doesn't say on the box. Same designer, Richard Borg.
Why do you think that is?
Probably it's a copyrighted name.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true, but
Yeah,
is.
probably.
But Memoir 44 uses all the same systems, but it's World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And the best part about this game is that it has lots and lots and lots of little plastic in it.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of the wood blocks with the pictures on them,
little men.
you have little men and cannons and tanks
yeah.
and all sorts of cool things like
And there's
that.
all kinds of expansion packs that you can get, like aircraft, and I mean, it's just insane.
And so this particular box set has the Americans in it, or the Allies, and the Germans.
And I think some free French units, if I remember correctly.
I don't know if those come in this box.
Okay, maybe they don't.
But there's like tokens and things for specializing
got
those
it.
things. But it's the same.
It's so
figurines.
awesome to see those little tanks on there.
So this is, and most of this stuff is West Front World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like D-Day landings, you have like all the airborne paratroop drops. So if your wargamers watching Band of Brothers, that's an indication they might like this. But then this has so much more. It goes through a lot of the campaign. There is a ton of missions that come in this.
The thing I love about Commands and Colors is they take, the same system and they make it unique to each of the different combats. So the rules are going to be mostly the same, but there's always a little different element.
A little bit of flavor.
The thing I like about this one is I think when you take hits, you roll less dice.
You do indeed.
Some of the others you don't.
Yes.
You have 4 units to start. If you're down to 1 unit, you're still rolling 2 or 3 dice. This one specifically, you start with 4 guys, you're down to 1, you're only rolling 1 die. So I really like that. It makes your choices a lot more strategic, and I think a little more important. You got to think through what you're doing.
This one's also probably a little bit easier to come across than some of the other games.
I would agree, yeah.
But this is something that I think I've seen at like Target before.
Yeah.
But
it's a great game.
It is a classic. It is just well loved by everyone, and also just not as intense as maybe some of these other games that we've played. Also very risk-free.
Very enjoyable too. Labyrinth. Not for everyone, right? Because it's because of the topic.
So this is the last of kind of these classic games. This game's been around a while. It's probably one of my favorite 2-player games of all time.
Easily in my top 3.
It's a card-driven game, and the topic is, as you may have guessed, it's the War on Terror. So the map is like a map of generally the Middle East and Central Asia.
With boxes for the different, America,
and
Canada,
Europe's
France,
in there
Europe,
with a little Schengen area as well. But this is one player plays the US, and one player plays like
the jihadists.
The jihadists, which is a conglomeration of all sorts of different Islamic fundamentalists, and it's a cat and mouse game. So one person is trying to go out there and wreak havoc in the world, and the other person is there trying to stamp it all out, basically.
Which is which, though?
I'll let you decide.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very interesting. They're very asymmetric. U.S., very powerful, tons of troops, tons of resources, can do a lot of different things like destroying units with cards, whereas the jihadists, smaller, have to be a little more subterfuge and a little more subtle, moving around the map, and it's very interesting. They're very, very different sides.
And that's the thing that's so cool about this, is you're going to play this game and you're going to love it, but you're also going to then switch seats with the other player, and you have to learn a whole new game.
Yeah.
It is so rewarding there's so much to discover in this game.
I have found in this game I am a terrible jihadist player.
And I think I'm a terrible US player.
When we play together, I've got to be the US. You've got to be the jihadist because it just doesn't work the other way.
Yeah.
We've tried it, and I've not been able to grok it.
It's a really good game. There's also a couple of expansions to this.
Yeah.
So again, it's one of those games where if the receiver of this gift likes it, there's more out there.
Well, it's the Arab Spring one. Can't remember what that's
so it's
called.
Labyrinth the Awakening.
The Awakening.
And then it's Labyrinth the Forever
War.
So those are the two expansions, and they're historical expansions, which is just fascinating.
Yeah, so this base game, it's kind of interesting. It's titled 2001 to question mark, right? The other expansions, The Awakening, I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think it's 2010 to 2015.
There you go. And then the Forever War is more
2015 to question mark.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I think as 3 to 5 years go by and that War on Terror continues, they will look to add other expansions by different designers. Volko was this designer, and then I think there was another designer for The Awakening, and I know Trevor Bender did the Forever War. So one of my favorite games, I would agree with you.
Yes.
A classic.
Just a really solid game. Again, it's been...
And it has a solo bot.
It does indeed.
A little hard to manage, I've found.
Well, they redid it.
They've redone it, so maybe it's more unique.
One.
I haven't used that one.
So that was kind of some of the more classic games. Those have all been around a bit and are typically always kind of in print.
Yep.
Let's talk about a few solo games.
Yeah.
And then wrap this up.
Well, I feel bad because you haven't played any of these, so I'm going to have to do most of the talking.
That's okay.
So this is a States of Siege series game. This was deluxeified by Worthington. This is their most recent deluxe edition. Was released a couple of months ago, 3-4 months ago. Levy en Masse from John Welch. This covers the French Revolution, basically the 1790s to whenever, right? But it's a very cool game. States of Siege, if you don't know, there's 5 or 6 tracks that are converging on a point. These are converging on Paris. You have to protect Paris from all of those. If any of those tracks get into Paris, the game is over. The cool thing about this, though, is it takes into account Napoleon, who is also kind of raging during this period and doing all his things, and you're really trying to fight for democracy. It's a very interesting, there's some
so you're trying to
tracks here.
You're trying to fight like the monarchy
and Napoleon and the what do they call it? Despotism.
Okay.
There you go. So monarchy and despotism. So you're trying to
so do you play like as the Republicans?
Yes, so you're playing as the Republicans. You're trying to keep your track high and keep the other 2 tracks low, and that's gonna ultimately decide how well you do at this game. Did you survive and did you fight for the Republic and establish it enough? Fantastic. I played this game half a dozen times. I have a review and a playthrough coming up.
States of Siege is an excellent solitaire system and a great piece of learning as well.
Absolutely. Every card has notes and historical elements to it, so you learn. I've learned a ton. Another game, I have 4 of these total. Love this game, Kaiserkrieg, World War I. This is the Great War, 1914 to 1918, from White Dog Games, designed by Ben Madison. This is a States of Siege series game, but it's flipped on its head. You don't have tracks leading to a central point. There are 6 points around Germany, and they're all trying to get in. They're trying to go over the top and destroy you. So you're fighting. So yes, you play as the Central Powers, Turkey,
Austro-Hungary.
I'm just trying to...
Austria-Hungary.
There you go. And then Germany, and you're fighting against everyone else. Very cool game. It's chit draw, so it's not card driven. You're literally pulling chits, and you're doing what it says, and that's the turn, and then you get your certain amount of points to activate, and you can go fight. So very interesting game, very unique, incorporates a lot of the historical elements very well. This one you can get bagged, I think, for $40. I think the box version's $45 or $50. And you can see I've played mine a lot. The box is kind of beaten up. I also have a review coming on this one, but I didn't do a playthrough because it's about a 3-hour game. Not gonna lie. All right, Landsworth Ridge.
So this is from the Valiant Defense series from Dan Versing Games, or DVG. This one's designed by David Thompson. Is this the 4th one in the series?
This is the 4th one, yep.
So this one also, I don't know if you can tell, has the glorious artwork of Niels Johansson in
it's
it.
fantastic.
It is the best looking of all of these games.
No doubt.
I've played, not this one, but I played others in the series,
Yep.
and they are excellent.
And this one is
This
just
one
as excellent.
looks incredible. I have a copy, I just haven't played this
Yeah.
one personally.
I've played this 5 or 6 times. I've done a full playthrough video, 4 different parts, each 30 to 35 minutes. This is a fantastic game. If you like a unique element of history, a snapshot,
Yep.
trying to do what they did historically, you're going to love these kind of games. You've got German attackers coming at you. You're the Americans trying to defend Landsworth Ridge, and it's just really fun. You've got this big machine guns. You can call in some arty. It's a very unique game and very easy on the eyes, frankly. I don't like the big face. That's the only part of the box I don't like.
But
everything else is fantastic.
The board and the cards and the pieces you
it's
play with are
gorgeous.
stunning.
So anyway, Landsworth Ridge, Dan Verson Games. The final game that I will highlight, this is actually a 1 to 2 player game. We've never played the 2-player version. This is called 414 BC, Siege of Syracuse. This is, I think, volume 3 in their Great Sieges series. This one came out earlier this year off of a Kickstarter designed by Dan Forney, where you are playing as the attacking I'm sorry. Are you the Athenians or the... I'm drawing a blank now. You're the Athenians, so you're the blue guys.
You're doing the attack.
You're doing the sieging, and the Syracusans are defending. So in the 1 to 2 player game, you just take one side. In the solo, you can only do the Athenians.
Okay.
Just the way it was designed. The very cool thing about this, and if you look at the back of the box, which I've got it upside down, embarrassingly, you have to build walls, and it's really unique. And you would think as a siege, why would the attackers want to build walls? Well, they were trying to wall them off and stop them from being able to get supplies and reinforcements. So they literally were trying to build a wall around this isthmus and kind of cut them off from the outside world. They even put a blockade up out in the very fun game, card driven, very challenging. This one is way more winnable though than 1565 Siege of Malta. I cannot win that damn game as the Ottomans. Just can't win it. This one I've won as the Athenian several times. Very interesting game, unique, and it's a 1 to 2 player game. Also beautiful,
yes.
Well produced, great little mini walls, great little pieces of wood, and yeah, great little game. Really enjoyed this game.
So that was a whole bunch of games, I do realize that, but hopefully some of those may inspire you, or you're like, oh, that person likes this piece of history, or that's what they studied at school, or they're reading a book about that, and maybe one of these connected with some of those things. But every single one of these games we talked about is a pretty solid choice.
Oh, no doubt.
And you'd be very hard-pressed to not get one of these and it be a dud, basically.
If you would buy this for yourself, or someone buys this for you as a present, you're going to be happy with any one of them. I would also say almost every one of the games we showed here, we have content either on the YouTube channel
or on the way,
or coming up, or we have something on the blog. I do a lot of strategy type things, action points, and then we do reviews and playthroughs on YouTube. So if you're interested, write them down. Check them out, check out those videos, and then tell your significant other, these are the games that I want, because Grant and Alexander said they were.
Point them towards this video and make them watch. And then you can blame it on us.
Absolutely.
So, appreciate you very much for tuning in. Hopefully you have great holidays. Happy Christmas. I've been Alexander from PlayerSaid.com.
Ho, 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 and I'm Grant.